Welcome to the special Lighthouse Foundation Explainer. Today we're diving into the really fascinating psychology behind how we pick up new skills and build our leadership capabilities. Whether you're a brand new hire just starting out or a seasoned board member, the way your brain processes, adopts, and eventually masters a new skill, it actually follows a very specific, predictable, and, well, somewhat unforgiving path. So let's unpack exactly what that path looks like together. Okay, take a look at this quote. Every skill you now do without thinking, you once didn't even know you needed. Really think about that for a second. It's a universal truth. It applies to literally everyone and everything, right? Whether you're learning to ride a bicycle for the very first time, closing a complex $1 million sales deal, or making a really nuanced board-level strategic call. At some point in your life, you were completely oblivious to the fact that you even needed that specific skill, let alone how to actually do it. To make sense of all this, we're going to use the Burch Model. Our agenda today. First, the universal learning curve. Then, stage 1, the blind spot. Stage 2, the uncomfortable truth. Stage 3, the discipline phase. And finally, stage 4, the mastery trap. All right, let's start with part 1, mapping out the universal learning curve. This right here is the baseline journey every single one of us goes through when tackling something totally new. It's a strict 4-step path. You go from step 1, unconscious incompetence, basically absolute ignorance, through varying stages of awareness and effort, all the way to step 4, unconscious competence, which is total mastery. And here's the kicker. You literally cannot skip a step. Your brain just won't let you. So let's begin our descent into awareness with stage 1, the blind spot. I actually like to think of this phase as dangerous arrogance. The crucial point here is that you have a massive blind spot. You think you're doing perfectly fine, mostly because you don't even realize the required skill exists in the first place. So you're incompetent, but you are completely unconscious of that fact. Your internal monologue is essentially, I don't know that I don't know. It's a state of blissful but incredibly vulnerable ignorance. Now, what's really fascinating about this is how this blindness affects everyone exactly the same way. A student, they don't realize their exam technique is weak. They think their method is just fine. A new employee might think they're a total natural at managing stakeholders, completely unaware of the complex nuances involved. And a powerful CEO, they might genuinely believe their decades of experience means they instantly understand modern ESG or cybersecurity risks. They're all completely oblivious, right up until a crisis shatters that illusion. So the huge takeaway you should grab here is that nobody, and I mean absolutely nobody, is exempt from this stage. Seniority, your pay grade, a fancy title, none of that protects you from unknown gaps in your skill set. If you don't know it, you just don't know it. And because the person in this stage is so oblivious, a mentor's only job right now is simply to hold up an honest mirror. You can't teach them the skill yet. You first have to prove to them that the gap even exists. Which brings us to the next step. Stage 2, the uncomfortable truth. This is that jarring moment where reality actually hits. You've transitioned into conscious incompetence. Now your internal monologue shifts to, okay, now I know I don't know. You finally recognize exactly which concepts or skills you're missing. The mirror has been held up, the blindfold is off, and honestly, it usually stings quite a bit. Look at how this exposes vulnerabilities right across the board. For the student, that moment of truth is getting a poor exam result and realizing their study technique totally failed them. For the employee, sitting in a high-stakes meeting, it's that cold sweat realization that they actually cannot read the P&L statement sitting right in front of them. And for a board member, it's being completely stumped by an investor asking a really hard, targeted question about AI risk exposure. The illusion of competence is just gone. Why does this matter? Well, this discomfort exists at every single level, but CEOs and senior leaders might actually feel it way more acutely. Why? Because of ego and public image. I mean, they're used to having all the answers, right? This makes humility the absolute most valuable leadership trait you can possess to survive this phase. Because if you can't check your ego and accept support here, your learning journey quietly dies, and you plateau. But if you can swallow your pride and survive that discomfort, you move into stage 3. The discipline phase. At this stage, known as conscious competence, you finally have the ability to execute the skill. But there is a major catch. It requires deep, slow, and highly deliberate effort. You're basically saying to yourself, I can do it, but I have to concentrate incredibly hard. You absolutely cannot multitask here. Doing this takes all of your cognitive bandwidth. Notice how everyone here, regardless of their pay grade, essentially has to rely on training wheels to succeed. The student can solve the math problem, but strictly step by step on paper. The employee reads the P&L, but they have to go incredibly slowly and double check every single line. And the board member? They're asking brilliant cybersecurity questions, but they are visibly reading directly from prepared notes to pull it off. What you should take away from this is that discipline is exactly what separates those who continuously improve from those who plateau. And there's a massive warning here for those at the top. Impatience is a huge trap for senior leaders. Since they're so used to being highly competent in other areas, they expect instant fluency when learning something new. But you literally cannot skip this rigorous, slow, deliberate stage. You just have to put in the reps. Eventually, we reach the final step. Stage 4, the mastery trap. This is unconscious competence. This is true mastery. Executing the skill becomes completely instinctive and effortless. Your brain has wired the pathways so efficiently that your internal monologue is just, I just do it without even thinking. It's as natural as breathing. In practice, you can see how beautifully seamless this looks. The student solves complex problems rapidly and instinctively. The employee reads complex financial statements fluently at a single glance, spotting anomalies immediately. And the board member instantly senses strategic governance risks without ever needing to pull up a framework. To an outsider, it looks like pure magic. But here is the critical danger, and the reason we call this a trap. Mastery actually creates a brand new blind spot. Experts at this level often make terrible mentors. Why? Because they can no longer explain the how behind their intuition. Their brains process the information so fast, they completely skip the conscious steps. So unless they're deliberately trained to go back and show their work again, they are incredibly poor at passing on institutional knowledge. So here is the crucial leadership takeaway of this entire explainer, the real secret to organizational growth. Usually, the expected goal is just moving people to stage 4 mastery. But just reaching mastery isn't enough. The actual true organizational goal is getting your brilliant, unconsciously competent leaders to consciously step back down to stage 3. They have to learn how to slow down, deconstruct their intuition, and clearly articulate their decision-making steps to others. If they can't do that, their knowledge retires right when they do. I want to leave you with this provocative question today as we wrap up. Look at your own life and career. What is a skill where you currently suffer from unconscious competence? And more importantly, if someone asked you to teach it tomorrow, could you still explain the step-by-step mechanics to the next generation? Or have you lost the ability to show your work? Evaluate your mentoring skills today, because true leadership isn't just about what you can do, it's about what you can explain. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.